We're along Waianae Valley Road heading up to Ka'ala, and this is all our lease, our DLNR lease of 1,100 acres. These are all the ignition points for the historic fires that got started. The 2018 fire started right along here, and it burned 9,000 acres. Once it starts, this road is inaccessible. You can't get out. That's why we were trapped up in there.
The fire came over, set the fire to the entire forest behind us, sent embers, and those embers burnt our hale to the ground. However, the most amazing thing that came out of that experience was that even though our hale burned from the embers, and even though the surrounding area that were all invasive plants burned, what didn't burn was these terraces right here. You know, because of the fact that they had brought back the water, and as well as putting plants and native things like that around these water sources, the fire went around. And so the lo'i became one of the safest places in the middle of a huge, massive forest fire. And so it really showed us that what we're doing at Ka'ala Farms is very important, and not just restoring culture, but battling against invasive species that threaten us with constant wildfire. And after experiencing what happened at Lahaina and Maui, that is very, very, very possible for Waianae. You can see a huge, massive load of invasive plants that will become dry in the summertime. And right down below is Waianae town, trapped by the ocean. So it's the exact same story waiting to happen if we don't get on it.
You can see the grasslands, how it's going all the way up into the forest preserve, sweeping all across this way. You see all those areas of light green, all got burned. And so this is a good example of the fire sweeping this way and going into the forest, and it's burned that part of the Waianae Kai Forest Preserve. And that's our watershed, that's a source of water, that's for all the springs, and the bulk, half of Waianae's water comes from this valley here. So every time you have a fire, you lose that forest interface. Eventually it can burn your whole water source. And the reason for the forest and the trees is to hold the water when it does rain. And so you have two things happening. You have fire, which just burns the forest, and then during the winter you have what we call rain bombs. So that's when the rain comes down in force, and then it erodes and it causes flooding. And if you don't have a good forest to hold that water in check, that's the other half of the problem. We put in a fence over here, and this is to a sheep fence that we want, and then we're going to be grazing sheep all along this corridor to cut the grass down. This grass now is a little bit green. During the summer, totally dry, and then the whole valley is that dry grass.
The sheep, they'll pretty much eat everything. They're not picky, and they're real calm. As long as you can manage their space correctly, they'll stay right where you want them, and they'll do what you want them to do. All of this, the way it's thick, it's real green, it's overgrown, hard to walk through. That's exactly what this was right here, all the way up. It was just, everything you see was very dense. And we literally can just come in, and the sheep do all the work. They literally clear everything, and they're really light, the sheep on the Aina. So when you use them in a small confined space like a valley, you're not gonna damage the ground when they trample. So the ground can regrow and regenerate as long as you can move them healthily. And so over here we're building them up and practicing that method. For one, to help us on our farm, clear Aina, help us manage the fire just on our space alone, but then also practice and teach what we're gonna do and apply that on a huge, larger scale.
And so this is where these efforts of us trying to understand fire remediation, the different ways that we can take these strategies and then apply it to other communities that are the urban interface. It's a learning curve. We're still learning how to do it. And these are just examples, demonstrations of what is possible.